The Christmas season really slows everything down, doesn't it? I mean, for about a week and a half, at the end of December, you can stay up late, you can sleep in, you can eat cookies at grandma's, you have fewer responsibilities, you can just vibe for a while. Your parents probably even loosen up on screen time a little bit. Your dad, he probably works less. It's probably a little more unhealthy but really delicious food in the house than usual. You might even have very little homework over the break if your teachers are nice enough. Like, the light side of slowing down is rest. But sometimes it's nice to just turn the volume of the chaotic pace of life down and just chill for a week or two. And the Christmas season provides that. But the dark side of slowing down is silence. Because when the schedule gets quiet, the voices get loud. And you know what voices I'm talking about. The whispers and thoughts that swirl around in your brain when your mind isn't occupied with busyness, right? It's the harsh thing that your mom said years ago. The terrible decision that you made a few months back. The performance in your game that you wish you could have a do-over on. The thing you did and nobody knows about. The rumors that are circulating about you at school. Basically, the shame that buries itself just underneath the smile. Silence makes you face yourself. And that's why Silent Night doesn't always feel peaceful. It feels more like silence of the night. And so during a season where you should feel light and happy, you instead spend your days shame spiraling and scrolling or texting or gaming, trying to distract yourself from dwelling on the worst moments of life that come bubbling up to the surface every time you stop moving long enough for them to. And your strategy works, kinda. But the thing is, Christmas is, comes every single year, and it's not the only time of year that you're forced to slow down. So I don't know, man. Maybe scrolling and gaming and texting and consuming aren't the absolute best ways to deal with the shame that silence brings. Maybe there is a healthier way to deal with the silence of the night. Mary, the mother of Jesus, knew a little something about the power of silence. The author of Luke, whose name was, you guessed it, Luke, doesn't use modern day mental health terminology to describe Mary's sense of well-being after finding out that she was pregnant. But most of us can pretty easily imagine what she may have been going through. See, Mary came from a strict Jewish culture where getting pregnant out of wedlock was an enormous deal. In our society today, there's still a general belief that two married parents provide the most stable environment in which to raise a kid. But we've also given way to the fact that that's not always how it goes down. And there are lots of ways to raise a healthy child. But in a late BC Jewish culture that took sexual morality really seriously and put a lot of expectations, particularly on women, to have sexual self-control, being pregnant before you were married, that was grounds for getting cut out of the friend group, so to speak. Hey, and let's add on top of that, the fact that when Mary found out from an angel of the Lord that she was pregnant with Jesus, she was prepping to be married to this guy, Joseph. So just imagine where Mary's head was at as she realized that she had to tell her future husband that she was pregnant. Now listen, society has evolved over time, but some things haven't changed. When someone's pregnant and the baby ain't their partner's baby, that's gonna cause some anxiety. But now consider what Mary's broader community would think about this. Sure, her future husband Joseph believed her weird story about God supernaturally causing her to become pregnant. But what are the odds that literally anybody else in all of Nazareth would believe that story? Now, it's a lot more likely that Mary's dad would look at her with deep disappointment from now on. It's a lot more likely that the market owner would, avoid contact with Mary whenever Mary walked past from now on. It's a lot more likely that Susan from down the block would start running her mouth again like she always does. Listen, the Bible doesn't say there was a Susan, but come on. There was definitely a Susan. There's always a Susan. Anyway. In the silence that would have followed this grand, terrible, amazing announcement from the angel, we can pretty easily imagine the kinds of things the voices would have been whispering to a teenage girl like Mary. Things like,
nobody will like you anymore. Your life is over. Joseph will never trust you again.
So I want us to look at what Mary does next after hearing this announcement about the baby. And hopefully what she experiences in the midst of her silence will help us navigate our own a little bit better. We're in Luke 1:39. A few days later, Mary hurried to the hill country of Judea, to the town where Zechariah lived. She entered the house and greeted Elizabeth. I forgot to mention, Mary is actually the cousin of Elizabeth from last week. So after hearing this news, Mary does what most of us would do. She heads for the safety of the people she loves. And listen, maybe if they had cell phones back then, maybe Mary would have just texted Elizabeth, but I don't know, man. I'm not sure that's how it would have gone down. I think Mary knew that her best shot at dealing with the silence was going to be to get face to face with people who loved her. And maybe she was onto something with that. Maybe you'd be wise to make that your first move too. Maybe getting face to face or as close as possible with people who love you rather than resorting to scrolling or gaming or texting or consuming. Maybe that's a better reaction to voices in the silence. Anyway, let's keep going. Verse 41. At the sound of Mary's greeting, Elizabeth's child leaped within her, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. Elizabeth gave a glad cry and exclaimed to Mary, "God has blessed you above all women, and your child is blessed. Why am I so honored that the mother of my Lord should visit me? When I heard your greeting, the baby in my womb jumped for joy." So Mary arrives at Elizabeth, and she's got to be hearing some voices threatening to pull her down into a shame spiral, or at least an anxiety spiral. And as soon as she gets to Elizabeth's doorstep, little baby John jumps for joy in Elizabeth's belly. It isn't much. It's a small moment. But in this small moment, God teaches Mary something that would show itself to be true over and over again for the next 30-something years of her life. And that's that this kid inside of her brings joy to everyone he meets. The angel said something like that initially to Mary, and that was cool, but for Mary to go to someone she loves, carrying the burden of the silence, and have the very thing she's most worried about, then bring joy to someone she loves, there's something very helpful in there for all of us. Listen, I know there are differences between Mary's story and yours. I know that Mary didn't do anything wrong, and I know that in your case, you probably did. I know that the Bible doesn't dig deep into the details of Mary's mental health state, but that your mental health state is right at the forefront of your story right now. I know that Mary lived in a period without digital communication, and you live in a period where talking in 2D is king. But this part of Mary's story teaches us that there are far healthier ways to deal with the silence of the night than isolation and consumption. Like, when you can't stop replaying the harsh thing that your mom said, go to someone you love. When all you can dwell on is the terrible decision that you made a few months back, go to someone you love. When you feel haunted by the rumors that are circulating about you at school, go to someone you love. And when you do, know that God can take that one act and flip it into something that you never would have expected. Because somehow, the very thing that has brought you shame may someday bring someone else healing, freedom, or joy. You sharing about where you're struggling may allow someone else to finally be honest about their own struggles. You opening up about the rumors at school may help someone else experience the joy of speaking truth to you, things that they've always wanted to say to you but have held back. You being honest with mom about the thing that she said could bring about healing in that relationship in a way that never could have happened otherwise. Listen, it happened with Mary, and it can happen with you. When you take the silence of the night and you bring it to those you love, God can make something amazing out of it. So here's the point. The silence of the night can bring joy to the world, but not if you stay silent about the silence. So as life slows down this Christmas season, don't shut down, don't isolate, don't give the enemy space to wreak havoc on your sense of identity. Go find someone who loves you and share what you're going through. It is a better way to combat the shame spiral. And it might not happen immediately, and it might not happen every time, but I assure you, when you make a habit of taking your burdens and going to the people that you love, you will experience the silence of the night, bringing joy to the world.